Hi. So today we are discussing about router transmission. Router is same like filter transmission. We are using the router to filter multiple conditions at a time. To create multiple filter conditions at a time. So using filter transmission at a time we can create only one condition. The operators we can use, but the entire expression is only one condition here. Like department number 20 or salary greater than 10,000 or high date score so and so. So the expression, in expression we can add multiple condition, but the entire expression is only one. Single input and single output, this is. But if you want to create multiple conditions, means single source and multiple targets. So current my requirement is I want to filter department 20 details into one target, 30 details into one target, the remaining records into the one target. So we have to create three conditions here. So using filter it's not possible, so that's why we can use router transmission to filter multiple condition level data. First I am creating three targets, department 20, 30 and 10. On EMP, drag and drop EMP. Here rename this table EMP with department number 20. Next EMP with department number is 30, and next EMP department number default. Default means the remaining records. So three tables we created. We have to generate this in the database. Okay, we can check here tables are created or not. 9 rows, department 20, 30 and default. Okay, so three tables are ready now. So now I'm creating a new mapping. Go to mapping designer, mappings, create a new mapping. Naming conventions, here router transmission. Click on OK. So single source and multiple targets, so you have to drag and drop the sources and target first. EMP source and targets. This is 1, 20 department details, 30 and default. So three targets we have and one source we have. So first then create router transmission. Go to transmission, create router. So first three letters of the transmission, department numbers we are filtering. Transmission created. This is also active and connected, we cannot bypass the columns, so that's why you have to drag and drop all the columns into the transmission. So here we have to create groups. Based on the groups we can filter the data. So new group, just now I added one group, by default we'll get the default group. Okay, this is 20 department detail group, DPT number 20, and we have to add one more for 30. The default group we will get the remaining records, which records are not satisfied by first two conditions. This is department number equal to 20, validate, okay, and edit the second expression also, department number equal to 30, apply, okay. Okay, so from first group to pass first target, department 20, and from second group to pass second target, department 30. The remaining default group we are passing into the default target. So this is not required. So if you want to see the output, so what are the records we are getting in the default group, so we can see. So go to mappings and validate. Okay, I'm repeating the steps again. Just first create source and targets. So here router we are using for single source and multiple targets. That's why we created multiple targets. 20 department EMP 20 table, and for 30 EMP 30 table. And to check the default records, we created default target also. So after that, create a transmission router. So first drag and drop all columns into the router transmission, because router is active and connected type of transmission. So we cannot take a only required column into that. Okay, so that's why we took all the columns into the router first. So then go to router, edit the router. In groups, you have to add the multiple groups based on the targets. So our requirement is we have to filter 20 department details into one and 30 department details into another. So that's why we created two groups to filter out 20 and 30. And ports, by default you will get input, because based on the groups you will get output. So properties, it's a normal. Tracing level, already we discussed about the tracing level. Okay, so based on the groups you will get output ports. Mapping, validate and save. Then create a new workflow. For this workflow, create naming conventions are very important. This is router. Okay, then create a session. Same naming conventions, src underscore tgt underscore router. Okay, on router we are creating, that's why I selected router mapping. Done. Link task from workflow to session, and connections. We have to change the connection for source to target. So now we have 3 targets, right? So you have to change the connection for each and every target. Okay. For this one also, bulk to normal. Scott is default user. Now bulk to normal. So this is the department number. Tracing level is normal. Okay. Validate this and validate the session also, workflow also, and save. Go to workflow, start workflow. So here it's running. So total 3 targets we have. From source we got 14 records, but in targets we have 6 records in 30 department, 20 in 5, and the default or 3. So we can check the data from designer also or from database also. So more than 500 you can check from the database, below 500 we can check from designer. This is 20. Tiger is the password here. 20 department related details we have 5. Okay, so here 30. Scott. Password is Tiger. So these are the 30 department details, total 6 records. So the remaining are default records. So we can see which department those records. So 3 records we got, those are the 10th department details. So our conditions are 2 conditions, department number 20 and department number 30. The default table contains 10th related department details. So the records are, it's not related to condition. So that's why we got in the default target. So we can check the same record count we have in the EMP source or not. Select star from EMP where TPT NO equal to 20. Select count of star. So total 5 records. For 30, 6 records, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The remaining are 3 records. 4 plus 5 plus 6 is 11. 11 plus 3, 14. Total 14 records we have in EMP table. So we got 14, 6 in 30, 5 in 20, and the remaining is 3 in 10. So this is router. Router is active and connected type of transmission. So we are using router transmission to create multiple filter conditions at a time. If you want to create only single condition, we can use filter transmission. But if you want to create multiple conditions at a time, you have to create router. So we will get performance difference when you are using filter and router. For example, instead of creating router, if you want to filter 20 and 30, you have to create two filters. One is for 20 department details and one other filter is for 30 department details. So in real time, we are working with some millions of records. So definitely if you are using 2 filters, the first filter will read all millions of records one time. So based on the condition, it will filter the data into the target. The second filter also will do the same thing. So it will read the millions of records once and it will pass the data based on the condition into the target. So instead of 2 filters, if you are using router, the router will read the data from the source only once. So based on the conditions, it will pass the data into the multiple targets. So that is the performance difference you will get when you are using router and filter if you want to work with multiple conditions. Okay, so the next transmission is aggregator. Aggregator is also an active and connected type of transmission. So using aggregator, we can calculate like aggregate calculations, sum, minimum, max, average, count, first, last, median. Okay, so we'll see how we are creating the aggregator and how we are creating the conditions. So first create the mapping, then based on the requirement we have to create the new columns in the target. So mapping, create, so naming conventions, aggregator. So drag and drop EMP, then create a transmission first, aggregator, first 3 letters of the transmission, then sum of the salaries. So this is active, so you have to pass all the columns, all required columns. So I'm passing all source qualifier columns into aggregator. So here you have input ports, output ports, and variable ports. So variable ports we are using like column level comparisons. Means for example, if you want to compare the first record from the table and some of the columns with the next record in the same table. So for the column level comparisons in the records, see, we can use the variable. So I'll explain with examples in further classes. So and here we have group by also. Now I want to add the total salaries in each and every department, sum of salaries of the employees. Sum of, this is output, user defined, sum of salaries of all employees. And this is integer. There is no input for this column because this is user defined column. So here you will get all the functions in aggregator: average, count, first, last, max, median, percentile, sum, variance. So now we are calculating sum of salaries of employees in each and every department. So you can use and or operators again, or we can create multiple columns at a time. Like we added only one column, like sum of salary. So if you want to find out the first record based on the salary, or based on the hire date, or based on the job, based on the department number, first record, last record, minimum salary, maximum salary. So we can find out, we can add multiple columns, we can find out the other values also. So now we are calculating the total salaries from each and every department. That's why I'm enabling this group by. So group by department number, we are calculating sum of salaries of the employees. So aggregator is active and connected type of transmission. First we passed all columns from source qualifier to here. Here we created a new user defined column to find out total salaries of the employees in each and every department. So we added one new column, sum of salary. We created one expression using aggregator functions. So for group by, we selected group by option for department number. And in properties, so this is the cache directory. This is the default Informatica provided cache directory. So here we have two types of caches, data cache and index cache. These are the temporary caches. While execution, it will store the data in the caches. After execution, it will release the data from the caches. So these are the temporary caches. So the index cache will store the data which conditional related records, like we created here group by and we created here sum of salaries. Those conditional level information, it will load in the index cache. The remaining information it will load in the data cache. So these are the temporary caches. So tracing level already you know. And here one more thing, we have sorted input. So here we enable the department number, right, based on the group by. So group by means first it will sort the data based on the department number, right? So that's why if you have already sorted data in aggregator transmission, so if you are getting already sorted data into the aggregator's transmission, so no need to sort again the data. So at that time you have to enable this option to improve your performance, because otherwise it will sort the data. If you are not enable this data, otherwise it will sort the entire data. So in real time we are working with a lot of records, so that is again it will take time to sort the data. So that's why if you have idea already we are getting sorted data, so then we can avoid the sort using this option. Apply and OK. So we have to add one more column in the target. So I'm creating a new target with the text row column with the EMP structure. This is sum of salary. Go to columns, add a new column here, that is sum of salary with integer. Number or integer. So generate this table in the database. Already we connected into the squad, so it's created a new table in the database. That is EMP sum of sal. Okay, drag and drop the target first, then drag and drop the columns into the target. All columns. So mapping, validate and save. Go to workflow, create a new workflow for this transmission. So naming conventions. And next, session. Create a new session for this. Create this session on aggregator mapping. Link with workflow into the session and change the connections here. This is Scott and this is also Scott, but to normal. Aggregator already we checked everything in the mapping. So validate and save. Control S. So we save. Workflow and start workflow. So total 3 records we'll get now, because this is aggregator. Based on the department number we will get the data. So in each and every department it will pick the last record, because we have group by here. In the last record it will display the data with sum of salaries of total employees. So 3 departments we have. This is 10th, 20 and 30. This is the 10th department total salaries, 20 department total salaries and 30 department total salaries. So we can see here. So in 20 department the last record is 7902. So 7902 is the last record in the department 20. So in 7902 it displayed the total salaries of 20 department details. So in 30 James record 7900, in 10th department 7934. So like this, in each and every department it will pick the last record and it displayed with the sum of salaries. So if you enable any other group by, so based on that group by it will sort the records. So based on that it will pick the last record. In that last record it will display the details. Okay, so aggregator is also activate connected type of transmission. So using this we can do aggregate calculation. Sum, minimum, maximum, count, total aggregate functions we can do. So by default here we have input, output and variable ports, and group by also we have. In properties, we have temporary caches. Those are index and data. The conditional related values, they are storing in index. The remaining it will store in the data. If you are getting already sorted input, no need to sort again. Just enable this sorted input option. Then it will avoid the sort. Okay, this is aggregated transformation. Next transformation is sorter. So go to mapping, create a new transformation. New mapping with new transformation. Sorter. So before doing this, just I'm importing one more table from the database. Source, import from database. So from here, I'm importing DPT table. Okay. So I'm creating a new target here for sort. Generate this table. Okay, DPT sort. Drag and drop source and targets. Create a transformation. Sorter. First 3 letters. Based on D name, I'm sorting. So we can create with the EMP tables also. Based on the salaries we can sort. So here I'm taking the characters type of column to sort the columns. Okay, so based on the ASCII values it will sort because that is a character. Sorter is also active and connected type of transformation, so we cannot bypass the values. Okay, so in the down we got warning also. So first drag and drop all the values into the columns into the sorter transformation. So here by default you have input, output, and key and direction. So key port means based on the key you can sort the data in ascending or descending order. We are sorting the data based on the D name. So here you will get ascending and descending order. Okay, and next in properties, so you have case sensitive. So if you have capital and small letters of data in your database, so case sensitive is very important to sort the data. So based on the ASCII will sort the data, so that's why. And if you have any duplicates, if you enable this, it will remove the duplicates using distinct. So when you enable this distinct, you will get all the key ports enabled. Okay, so based on all columns it will sort. So when all the columns are matched with the same record, same other record, then we can consider that is a duplicate record. So based on that it will remove the duplicates. Okay, so this is the distinct to remove the duplicate values. So if you have any null values, if you want to treat that null values in the loss, just enable null treated low. This is the tracing normal. Okay, so this is the sorter transformation. So sorter is active and connected type of transformation. By default will get input, output, and key port and direction. So using key port we can sort the data based on that key port in ascending or descending direction. If you want to remove the duplicates, just go to properties, enable the distinct option. Okay, go to mapping, validate, and save. So create a new workflow here for sorter. In this session also. So for the mapping and the session level things, everything is same for each and every flow, but the conditions creation of transmission is different. Okay, so we created the session, link task with the workflow, chain the connection for source and target. This is also called bulk to normal. So we are not applied any distinct anything, so that's why we'll get all the records. So if you applied the distinct, you will get the record count difference because this is active, right? Start task. So it succeeded. Only we have 4 records. We got 4 records. So we can see in ascending order based on the D name. Okay, A B C D E F G H I J K O O P Q or S. Okay, D name. On D name we sorted in ascending order. Okay, so this is sorted transmission. So up to now the expression is only passive. The remaining filter, router, aggregator, sorter, these 4 are active and connected type of transmission. So in the next class we can see some more transmissions like rank, sequence generator, union, source qualifier, joiner. So some other transmissions, lookups also we have, update strategies also we have. So very important transmissions we can discuss in the next class.